Howdy there, we finally have it. The new Fall Out Boy album, So Much for Stardust, is finally out. And I took a few days to record this just to really sit with the album a little bit. As a big Fall Out Boy fan, I feel like I needed to do that to properly sort of grasp it. And it's time. It's time for my review of the album. Going into this album, I was very excited for it. The two singles, Love from the Other Side and Heartbreak Feels So Good. Heartbreak Feels Good, I mean. Really got me excited for this because it felt like going into it, it was a good mix of like pre and post hiatus Fall Out Boy at the same time, which I was so excited for because we needed some more of that pre-hiatus influence within the band. Now, going into this album, my expectations were high, and I can gladly say they were definitely met within this album. There were a few songs that felt very like kind of fillery, kind of in one ear out the other, not a big fan of, but for the most part I thoroughly enjoyed this album, and it left me with like a feeling that I haven't felt from a Fall Out Boy album in some time, because this is easily the best post-hiatus Fall Out Boy album, like easily. I think that a lot of the things they tried and did on this album worked out perfectly. Obviously, you know, the two singles were incredible. They were very well done, and I am a big fan of them. And past that, Hold Me Like a Grudge is incredible. A really good song to start to sort of kick off the new shit we kind of hear on this album. But then it kind of slows down a bit. I'm not the biggest fan of Fake Out or Heaven, Iowa, which I know that one with Heaven, Iowa might be a hot take, because I see a lot of people talking about how they like that song. But it just feels like, I don't know, there's just nothing really drawing me to it, that or either Fake Out. They're not bad songs, but they're very, like, fillery placeholder songs. Other than that and the Kitsugi Kid, I can never pronounce that shit. Other than that, those three songs, there's not really a song on this album that I can't say I don't enjoy thoroughly. I Am My Own Muse, absolutely incredible. The first time I heard that, like, I was like fucking blown away. As well as Flu Game. It has a very like classic like sound to it. It's very comparable to Crazy Equals Genius by Panic at the Disco. It feels like a very like darker spin on, it feels like a darker spin on that sort of sound that was in the time period that was trying to like capture in a way. It's really good. I'm a big fan of it. It feels very theatrical, and you know, hearing it, it's a very good song. As well as this album brought something back within Fall Out Boy that I've been craving for the longest time, and that being random Pete Wentz poetry, folks. We finally got it again on Baby Annihilation, which is an insane song, an insane title for an interlude on a Fall Out Boy album. I was not expecting that. When I saw the track list leak, I was skeptical, because I was like, that sounds insane. But no, the leak was right. It was called Baby Annihilation, and I was like, okay, that's gonna be interesting. Thank you, Pete. Thanks, Pete.
Thanks, Pete.
And also there was another interlude on here called The Pink Seashell with Ethan Hawke, which was just so random. Such a random interlude, and such a random feature for an interlude that it took me off guard. Very off guard. He's talking about quarter pounders with cheese for some reason. Motherfucker's playing his McDonald's album in his Fall Out Boy feature. I don't know what the fuck is up with that. Also, another song I really enjoy is What a Time to Be Alive. It's very like upbeat and like sort of like, it's hard to explain. It's a very upbeat and optimistic song, because you can tell just from like lyrical content that it's sort of talking about like how everyone like before the pandemic was like happy and everything, and how everyone's like missing that time. But the song sort of like lyrically is about like not living in that past, and like the time not dwelling on before it, because it happened and we have to live with it, and it's good to just accept the good things that we have now while accepting that, yeah, it was a shitty time. And that honestly is it feels like a very reflective song for the band too, because the pandemic definitely changed, like, obviously how the band, like, went about, like, with their sound. You know, this is very different from Mania in many ways. It's a very different album. It's a much better album too. And outside of that, like, I think it really showed with, like, a lot of the songs on here, lyrically, coming back to sort of some old things they did, while at the same time mixing in these post-hiatus elements that really work very well for the band. And I think if they keep going with this sound, it is going to do them a lot of good. Because this album, it lived up to my expectations, and I think it did for a lot of other fans. But outside of all that, hands down, my favorite song on this album has to be the title track. Because, oh my god, it blew me away. That title track was absolutely incredible, honestly. It was very, like, it built up so well, reusing some of the lyrics from Love from the Other Side. I think them, like, reusing that the first time I heard it, it just, like, I was like, yo! I was so hyped. And I think this song is such a perfect closing track for the album too. I've said this in previous videos. I think I said it in my Fall Out Boy ranking video, but Fall Out Boy to me have always been a band that have known how to do a closing track perfectly. On so many of their albums, they have known which is the closing track so well, and it perfectly suits every album in my opinion. The Patron Saint of Liars and Fakes on Take This to Your Grave, West Coast Smoker on Folie à Deux, even the post-hiatus stuff, the title track from Save Rock and Roll being the closer, it all works very well, and it feels like a very, like, good way to end an album. Fall Out Boy always know how to go out of an album on a high note, and that's one of their strong suits in my opinion. But outside of that, another strong suit has to be Patrick's vocals, because Patrick is an absolutely fucking incredible vocalist who I never feel like gets the credit he sort of deserves for just having such an amazing voice, such a good range on his voice. One thing I'm disappointed that they didn't do more of in this album is sort of like the lower notes and everything that Patrick has hit at times on stuff like Folie à Deux, which I think him hitting, like, a lot of lows on that album was so amazing. It gave such a variety in the songs, and I really miss that about Foley. And also they did on Infinity on High pretty well. But that's kind of a nitpick in my opinion. Another thing I miss about old Fall Out Boy that they unfortunately didn't bring back was Pete Wentz's, like, backing screaming vocals, because those honestly always elevated a Fall Out Boy song, like, so far beyond what it could have been with just Patrick. Not saying just Patrick isn't enough, he most certainly is, but when they come together like that, it is such an incredible feeling. Some good examples of this include the Carpal Tunnel of Love, Saturday, Get Busy Living or Get Busy Dying, as well as West Coast Smoker, as I previously mentioned. And they just do this so well that I hate that they haven't brought it back since the hiatus has ended. Either way, absolutely incredible album. And now for an updated ranking, since there's a new album out, I have to do an update on the ranking. Now, previously, my album ranking for Fall Out Boy had been Mania, American Beauty, American Psycho, Evening Out with Your Girlfriend, Save Rock and Roll, From Under the Cork Tree, Take This to Your Grave, Thanks for the Memories, and Folie à Deux. And now, without further ado, the new and updated ranking. That's right, folks. Save Rock and Roll has been dethroned, kinda. I would say that this album is better than Save Rock and Roll, but that's not saying anything against Save Rock and Roll. I thought it was also a good album, but without a doubt, this is their best post-hiatus album. It doesn't come close to anything pre-hiatus, in my opinion. I think what they captured in those early years of the band was just something that can't be done again, but hey, I'm open to being proved wrong. My favorite band put out a good album, and it took a while, but they did it. The first good Fall Out Boy album in 10 years. I know I'm going to be listening to this a shit ton. If you're a new fan who more enjoys the Take This to Your Grave from Under the Cork Tree era, from the early 2000s, you're probably going to enjoy this, honestly. If you're more like me and your favorite like albums from the band are Infinity on High or Folie à Deux from sort of the late 2000s, you're going to like this. Genuinely, I feel like this, if you are a fan of any era, any album of this band, you can go into this album finding something you enjoy. And that's what makes me happy about it. It feels like such a good culmination of everything Fall Out Boy has done and become in the last 20 years that really bring it to a really good point. Is it their best album? No, not by a long shot. But is it an enjoyable experience, and is it a good album? Yes, and if you're a Fall Out Boy fan in any capacity, I'd highly recommend listening to it. If you're not a Fall Out Boy fan, I wouldn't say to start with this album, but if you are interested in them, listen to some of their stuff in any sort of way, you're gonna find some enjoyment in it, and I think that's what makes this album so beautiful, so well done. Because even songs that I can say I don't like as much and that I think are a little more without substance, I can see why people would enjoy those. And I think that's what matters. Either way, thank you for watching. If you haven't, go ahead and join the Discord server. There should be a link down in the description below. Follow me everywhere. Go ahead and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Just, if you want to keep up with the videos in any capacity, I'd highly appreciate that. Just subscribe, leave a like, join the Discord. Interaction in any way is very much appreciated. That being said, I do have a Linkin Park song review planned. I know they released a new song. I haven't listened to it yet. I'll listen to it a few times, review it as soon as I am able to. It's been a little hard with work and all lately. But either way, thank you so much for watching. Hope to catch you watching some more videos. Hope to catch you in the Discord server. That's about it. Bye. Love you.